right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to JT Educates Sunday Night Setup with Jamaica Thomas. I am the founder of JT Educates, and we are here to do your Sunday night setup. Now, this is a pre-recording. Usually I go live, but I have some things to do during the time that I normally go live. So this is a pre-recording, and so it might look a little different because I'm using a different platform. But I wanted to make sure that I came to you and did what I'm slated to do, right? Which is going live every Sunday, talking about love and light, prepping your week for love and light. That's the Sunday night setup. So this week, we are talking about ethical and servant leadership. That's our discussion for this week, ethical and servant leadership. And so when we're thinking about ethical and servant leadership, we have to think about what makes a truly great leader. It's not just the power or influence, it's the ability to lead with integrity and a heart for service. All right. So today we're talking about ethical and servant leadership, two powerful approaches that create lasting impact. So I want you to think about the servant leaders or the ethical leaders or what makes a great leader to you, right? And so when we're thinking about those people that we have worked under who were great leaders or where we have, been an employee of a certain place and we were really just thinking, man, I want to be like that. I really feel seen and heard. My boss or my leader is right here with me. I like how they actually make decisions and try to live in integrity. And so all of those things come into play when we're talking about ethical leadership and servant leadership. So I want to give two different definitions. They are two different things. Ethical leadership is leading with integrity, honesty, and a commitment to doing the right thing. Leading with integrity, honesty, and a commitment to doing the right thing, making decisions that benefit the greater good, not just personal gain. So that's ethical leadership, making decisions that benefit the greater good and not just personal gain. Servant leadership is putting the needs of others first and leading by serving. Putting the needs of others first and leading by serving. Also, it is creating an environment where team members feel valued, empowered, and supported. Again, it is creating an environment where team members feel valued, empowered, and supported. So they do have key similarities and they have key differences. Ethical leadership focuses on values and principles. Servant leadership emphasizes putting others before oneself. But both build trust, loyalty, and long term success. Now, let's think about some people again in our lives who have been ethical leaders and servant leaders. A lot of times we might think of ethical leaders as people in our faith institution, like in church, or servant leaders, like in church. Or you can think about that boss that, again, that was like right there with you while you were working. Remember, we talked about or that leader that was right there with you when you're working room. We talked about the difference between a boss and a leader, right? A boss is one that is like facing you, telling you what to do. A leader is somebody that is walking beside you. And so when we're thinking about servant leadership, we are walking beside each other. Now, as the leader, I might have more accountability. I might have to have more credentials. I might have to have more say so or have more access to information than you. But when it comes down to the work getting done, we're doing it together, right? We're doing the work together. When we're thinking about an ethical leader, it's all about that integrity, right? And understanding what is the right thing to do and an honest way to do it. We know when we are dealing with somebody who is not integrous. We know when we are dealing with someone who is not on the up and up. There's something within us that say, the way they're doing this is not quite right. It doesn't sit right or feel right to me. And so we don't want to subject ourselves as employees or as partners with a leader who doesn't walk in integrity and who's not ethical. It just brings about a lot of things. We know again, both servanthood and being integrous or having integrity both build again trust, loyalty, and long term success. All right. So, what are some practical ways to build to lead ethically and serve others? What are some practical ways to lead ethically and serve others? I always like to give a practical tip of how do we get this. Number one, define your core values. What do I stand for as a leader? When you are able to define your core values, you know what you will do and what you won't do, right? So for me, when I think about who I am as a leader, I am one that I got to have the truth. Like, I don't want to, I'd rather you tell me the truth and we deal with it than me find out later that there was so much gray area or it was just truly not true what you were saying. And then I can't trust you. I would rather you tell me the truth and we figure out a plan to handle whatever it is than you tell me something else and it is not true. It makes me think about something that I thought of as a leader of a department. I told my team, this job is 80% dot I cross T. The other 20% is grace. What does that mean? We are not going to get it right all of the time. We are going to make mistakes. There are things that we are not going to know. But when it happens that where it comes to a point where we don't know something, we need to own up to it that we don't know. Or we need to figure out how do we get the correct answer. Or we need to say, hey, I missed that. Or it fell through the cracks. Or somehow I didn't get this done. And can I have a chance to get it done now? Like we need to be ethical in even our shortcomings, right? As ethical leaders, we have to know that when we mess up, we need to be vulnerable enough. We need to be able to stand on what we did, own up to it, and then get through it. But what we find often is that people do not want to live in those type of ethics. They want to get away with what they can get away with. And it always catches up in the end. It always catches up with them in the end. Um, Step two, lead by example. Integrity isn't what you say, it's what you do. I'll say it again. Integrity isn't what you say, it's what you do. Back in the day, parents would say, do as I say, not as I do. Well, that don't really work anymore, right? So I need to know that as a leader, I'm setting an example of integrity, right? If I am coming in 15, 20 minutes late, I can't expect my team to come in on time, right? And if there is a reason that I am late, I can't get on my team when they're late, right? I have to say, okay, this is the example that I'm setting. And I can't expect my team to do anything different than what I'm doing, right? If I come to a meeting and I set the example that I'm always 5 minutes early, and I expect that for my team to do that, then I have set that example and I walk in integrity. But if I'm saying, well, you all need to get to the meeting 5 minutes early and I'm getting there right on time, I'm not setting the example, right? So we have to think about that. Integrity is not what you say, it is what you do. Be honest, take responsibility, and hold yourself accountable. One of the mentors that I follow, he said, you have to call your own foul. Like, I'm not a sports person. I don't play basketball, but I do know when you're out there doing a pickup game, you have to call your own foul. You have to say, "Oh, I messed up." Right? Oh, I didn't do that right. I do know the analogy. And so that is what you have to do as an ethical leader. You have to make sure you hold yourself accountable. Hey, y'all, we missed this deadline. I had some other things going on. We missed a deadline that was given to us by our supervisor. And so I'm going to talk to the supervisor to see if we can have an extension. Don't worry about it. If I have to put in more time because we missed the deadline for something that I did, then I'll do that because I want to make sure we get this done. You've done your part, but I didn't do what I needed to do. That is being an ethical leader. That is someone who is holding themselves accountable and calling their own foul. Okay. Step three, prioritize the needs of others. Practice active listening and empathy. Make leadership about empowerment, not control. So when you are thinking about others above yourself, you are prioritizing the need of others, right? Is your leadership is not about having the power to do something. It is about or having the control. It is empowering others so they can be their best self. Okay. So when we're thinking about serving others or having a servant type of leadership, we have to think about how are we allowing people to be their best selves? How are we making sure that we are magnifying their skills, that they are walking in their gifts, that they are walking in their highest ability on our job. If you know your team, if you don't know your team, get to know your team. That's the first thing. If you don't know your team, get to know your team. Do some type of personality surveys or spend some time with them or really have some one on one conversations and then see what their goals are and what they think their actual greatest gifts are and skills are that can be added to the team. Once you figure that out, then the best thing is to do is to have them actually walk that thing out, like actually do the thing that they are gifted in doing on your team. Or if you see something in somebody, say, hey, you know what? You're really organized. Do you mind putting a schedule together so we can get this one task done? Or you know what? I really appreciate how you talk with people and the patience that you have. Do you mind making these phone calls or contacting these people so we can get this thing done? Like, understand your people and then allow them and empower them to walk out their gift and what they're able to do for your team. The last step is commit to continuous growth. Seek feedback on your leadership style. Stay informed about ethical challenges in your field. Seek feedback, right? Have you asked your team members how you're doing as a leader? When was the last time you asked your team members how you're doing? Or do you not want to know? Hmm, that's a thought. When was the last time you did a rating scale on yourself? When was the last time you did a self assessment on yourself and you were honest with who you are and how you show up in your space? Think about that. Seek the feedback. When was the last time you allowed somebody to, from an outside that's in your field, to observe you and see how you operate and then give you feedback on how you operate? And then you're really honest in wanting the feedback back, right? And receiving that feedback. It can be hard sometimes. I'll tell you, it can be hard sometimes to really have an objective look at how you're operating as a leader. But if you want to be able to serve, if you want to lead ethically, you have to commit yourself to continuous growth. And you also have to understand, how do other leaders in my field trip up? Like, what are the obstacles or the challenges of other people in my field? And how do I steer away from those, or how do I confront them in a healthy way? Right? So that step four is commit to continuous growth, seek feedback on your leadership style, and stay informed about ethical challenges in your field. Now, we always have to have a call of action or a closing. So this is what I want you to think about. I want you to take a moment this week to reflect on your leadership style. Ask yourself, am I leading with integrity and service? I want you to commit to one small action that strengthens your ethical and servant leadership. Okay? One small action that commits to that strengthens one small action that will strengthen your ethical and servant leadership. All right. Well, that's it for this week's Sunday night setup. I'm Jamika Thomas. I am the founder of JT Educates, and it is my pleasure to help you prep your week. It is my pleasure to help you prep your week for love and light through leadership. This week, I want you to be love, be light, and lead boldly. Again, I want you to be love, be light, and lead boldly. All right. Y'all have a good one. Have a good week.